Today we're going to learn how to change a fraction to a decimal. And you can do that very simply by changing the denominator of a fraction to a 10 or 100, which makes renaming the fraction as decimals easier because we know that fractions with a denominator of 10 names a decimal with tenths, and a fraction with a denominator of 100 names a decimal with hundreds. Also, we need to make sure that we know how to simplify or get that fraction maybe to a benchmark fraction, which is 1/4, which would equal 25 hundredths. Another benchmark fraction would be 1/2, which equals 0.5, which is 50 hundredths. Or 3/4, which equals 75 hundredths. If you can rename the fraction to the benchmarks 1/4, 1/2, or 3/4, you already know what those decimals represent. Well, here we have our first one. How do I write 3/5 as a decimal? So I'm going to start off with 3/5. Well, I know that 5, that's the denominator, can be changed to a 10 or 100 because I know that 5 will go into 10 or 100. So I know that 5 is easier to get to 10. So I'm going to make the denominator a 10. To get that, I have to times the 5 by 2. So I'm timesing this denominator by 2 to get 10. If I times the denominator by 2, I know that I have to times the numerator by 2. So I know that 3 times 2 equals 6. If I read this, this is 6/10. That is easy to put it in decimal form. I know that 6/10 looks like this. I just changed 3/5 of a fraction to a decimal 6/10 by making the denominator a 10. A different way that you could do this is the next one is how do I write 9 6/8 as a decimal? Well, I'm going to write 9 down here, okay? And we leave that whole number a whole number, but we need to change 6/8, figure out what renames 6/8 into a decimal form. So I know that 8 will not go into 10, and I know that it will not go into 100. So I'm going to see if I can use one of my benchmarks, which would be 1/4, get it to 1/4, 1/2, or 3/4. Well, I know that, let's see, I need to find out what I can divide the 8 by and the same as the 6 by. So I know that, let's see, that 8, I'm going to simplify it, and I'm going to divide this by 2 because I know that they're even, so I can divide this by 2. If I divide the bottom by 2, I'm going to divide the top by 2. So let's see, 8 divided by 2 is 4. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3/4, that is one of our benchmark fractions. So I know that 3/4 is equal to 75 hundredths. So I'm going to bring the 9 over, and 3/4 I know is 0.75. If you did not know the benchmark number, 3/4 0.75, you can also get the 4, not to 10, but you can get it to 100. So I want to show you how to do that. I've simplified it 9 3/4. I know that 4 will go into 100 because I remember quarters. If I had 4 quarters, that would go into 100. So I'm going to times this 4 by 25. That's going to get me 100. So if I times the bottom, the denominator, by 25, I know that I have to times the numerator by 25. So 4 times 25 I know is 100. 3 times 25 I know 25, 50, 75. So I have 9/75 over 100, which reads 9 75/100. So I know how to write that as a decimal, which looks like this, 9 75/100.